Hello everyone, this is Shatrupa and today we'll be talking about AI based interviews. So LTI has basically started with AI based interviews, but this video is basically a general one. So we'll go through what kind of questions are being asked in AI based interviews and how to approach them, right? So, first thing first, understand that AI based interviews are not taken by humans, so questions are not decided on spot. They are pre decided codes, okay, specific to a given job description or to a given position for which they are hiring. So, the questions are pretty standard because they are not made on spot. They already have a code written and they're just pre-processing your they're just processing your resume, and on base of that they are giving you some general questions. The questions are indirect, they are general and more specific to the kind of job they are hiring for, not specific to your resume. Okay, so first thing can be that they may or may not ask you to upload your resume. Okay, so that's completely up to the organization who are hiring. So do they want you to upload your resume to the AI, or do they already have your resume and based on that they have sent you the AI interview? So it's completely up to them. Okay, so uploading your resume has nothing to do with the interview. Understand that the interview is already pre-planned. Okay, the interview is already based on certain criteria, and there are certain questions that the company has already assessed that they need to know these answers from the candidate before they call you for an actual interview. Okay, so first thing, there are four steps basically in an AI interview. So they may or may not ask you to upload an resume. Okay, then the most basic thing is to introduce yourself and your experiences. Okay, so there will be questions here and there from related to you, that tell us about yourself, what are the projects that you worked on and all that. And then there will be questions related to the technical field that they are hiring you for. If that is for an AI specialist, or that is for an data analyst or whatever, the question will be specific to that particular thing. Or if they are hiring for networking, that can be anything. Okay, and finally you'll have some simple coding questions. They'll be very simple so far, whatever I have seen. Okay, unless the company is completely agreeing with the AI based results, I don't think you'll get complicated code, because it will take a lot of critical analysis for the company to judge you on the extreme hard level questions on coding. Okay, so your coding questions will be pretty simple. So starting with the resume based questions, or questions that can be asked after you upload your resume, or even if you don't upload your resume, how will the interview begin? Okay, so it will begin with a small introduction about yourself. The question will be, tell us more about yourself, like what are your background qualifications, what all projects you have worked, what are your interests and everything. Then question will pertain towards the project that you have worked. Okay, so that will be a very general framing of the question. It is not that they are reading your resume and asking you the questions. Okay, that's not on spot. So immaterial of whether you upload your resume or not, these questions are to be asked. Okay, this has been coded into the AI before the test was sent to you. So there will be brief questions about your project. So you're going to describe your projects. You're going to describe all technologies that you used, right? Do not mention your challenges or anything over here in this question, because probably they'll ask you about your challenges in depth as you progress in the interview. Okay, so just hold on and do not give out everything in just one particular question. So try to keep it small and precise. When you talk about your project, you talk about your project. What was your motivation? How did you do the roadmap? How did you reach the end goal? What all technologies you used? That is what your answer should have, right? The next thing can be about your professional experiences. If you had any internships, or if you are working as a part time somewhere in some firm and you have some professional experiences, talk about that. Then it definitely can be one of the challenges you face while completing your projects, or you have experience in your professional career. So you can talk about the challenges in details in this question. Okay, so try to understand that. Do not answer everything in just one question. Keep space for the answers for further questions, because your answers cannot sound the same for every single question. That will become really weird and might just reject you. Okay, it's like you have nothing new to say. Okay, it's more of a storytelling. So the more you stick around the question, the better. So if the question is, tell me about your challenges in the project, so then just mention your project's name and talk about the challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them. Okay, you do not have to talk about your project in detail in this question. The next one can be, describe your role in the project. Like, what were you? Were you a leader? Were you a tester? Or did you just do the designing part? Or did you just work on the implementation towards the end of the implementation? Or were you the team lead who just coordinated with the team? So talk about your role and what you did as that person in that project. Okay, there can be some situation based questions as well, like if the client is dissatisfied with your work, What do you do and how do you convince them? So just be prepared with some kind of answers like that. It cannot be a very vague answer that, oh, my client was dissatisfied and then I went and spoke to them and they agreed. No, it can't be that vague. So in such cases, you have to describe why the client was dissatisfied. What was the thing on your project that the client wasn't happy with, and how did you justify that this is a better approach? Okay, so don't not have any vague answers in your AI based interviews, okay, because they are basically looking for keywords for filtration. And yeah, there can definitely be some questions like how can your expertise or how can your educational background help the team. So you definitely have to say that you come with a strong qualification of whatever the project description has asked for, and you're willing to learn more if the projects asks for that, and you're definitely looking forward to contribution to the organization as well as growth in your career. So you're just going to be very precise and crisp when you answer these questions. There can be questions related to your degree, which is a very common form of question, like how did your degree help you, or why did it just motivate you to pursue this degree? So you can talk about these things like in a very better formatted way. Like you can just start that when you initially started, you really didn't enjoy it, but slowly when you got into coding, you realized how fun it can be and you can really do anything. You just add facts like you have made projects to just surprise your friends on their birthdays or something like that. So that something you can create out of technology for your loved ones probably motivated you and kept you going in that process, right? So make sure you have a very precise answer that revolves around the question. Do not walk away from the point of the question. If you do so, the chances of you being selected after the AI based interview is very minimal, okay? So whatever the question is, try to stick to that question. There can be a situation based questions like suppose you're working on a team and two team members have disagreed and there's a conflict between them. How do you resolve it? People usually say that I go and report it to the manager or the HR. Suppose you are the manager. How do you deal with it? You directly go to the HR? No, that's not how a team works, right? So you should first take into consideration that they resolve it amongst themselves. If not, you can have a one-on-one meeting with both of them and listen to their point of views, right? Because you are acting as a middleman. And if you are the middleman, just make sure that you value both the parties equally. Then you sit with them, discuss the pros and cons both of them have, and let them choose, or let them understand, do that critical thinking to resolve that conflict within the team member. You do not favor one particular person, okay? Because when it comes to a team, you have to take into consideration everyone, right? And last thing can definitely be, this is not the last definitely, but it can pertain to your technologies that you have used in your projects, or the languages that you have learned in your degree, or the kind of skills that you, technological skills or technical skills that you have gained while having your professional experiences. So you're just going to talk about those things. The next one can definitely be technical questions. Now technical questions can be from a vast range of domain, right? So it completely depends on what job position are you applying to. So if you're applying to networking, definitely CNN and GNN can be a question. So if it's a neural network, what is the architecture and all those background details you must know. A very common question can be time complexity, because data structure is used in every single organization. I don't think an organization exists who doesn't use data structures. So data structures is definitely a good place to get started. So time complexity is a very good question that can be asked, okay? Then again, coming to database normalization, definitely. What are hyperparameters if you're doing it a machine learning course, or a machine learning interview or a AI based interview? You should know what are hyperparameters. Questions can be related to debugging. How do you approach a debugging? How does debugging help to fix errors, right? Questions can definitely be related to different kind of data structures. So here, for example, the question says, what is a call stack? You must know what is a call stack and where it is used, though there's other part of the question that how recursion uses call stack. So definitely call stack is used in recursion. Now you need to keep that answer revolving around recursion. Do not escape recursion. Explain it with respect to recursion itself. There can be questions related to graphs, trees, linked list. It can come from anywhere in data structure. So what depends on the technical question is the profile that you're applying to. Okay, so the questions will be very general. It won't be that, oh, okay, it's from my resume. No, it's not from your resume. These are the basic questions that the organization really wants to know from you. So you have to answer these. So thereby, before going to an AI based interview as well, make sure the domain, the profile that you're applying to, you have at least 60 to 70% knowledge on the topics that is mentioned in the job description. Okay. Then it comes around to describe a technology that you had to implement without any prior experience. Okay, now suppose you had to work on machine learning. You had zero experience on machine learning. You don't know what data annotation is. How do you use annotation tools? You don't know how to incorporate Python with annotation tools. How did you go with it? So it has to start from the very scratch level where you started looking into works done by your team member, or understanding the codes written by your team member, or learning or taking a tutorial or crash course or whatever it is. So how did you go about it? It should be a complete journey from start to finish, but that doesn't mean you're going to take up around 10-15 minutes saying this, right? So it has to be like very small, within 3 to 4 lines or 5 lines at max. Keep it crisp, but mention every single point. Then definitely there will be a simple coding question, as simple as an anagram to as simple as writing a code with minimal complexity for adding, say, 2 numbers. Okay. So you really have to know what complexities are in those questions, because if the question is really simple, then what are they looking for? If I ask someone to write palindrome what function at the level of a graduate level or an entry level position, then what am I actually looking for at the palindrome question? I'm looking for how you approached it. How nicely did you finish writing that code in a single line? If yes, amazing. How did you do it? So that is something that I'm looking forward to. Minimum complexity when it comes to very simple code. Okay. Other kind of code can be the codes based on your specific role. Suppose it's an AI engineer role. So AI engineer roles mostly can pertain to training of models. So they might ask you to write a prompt in which you force the model to fail so you can train it properly. So your prompt cannot be incorrect. It can't be a wrong question that you're giving. It has to be proper question and multiple stages of question, so the machine ultimately, or the model ultimately, fails. So these are few technical based question. Now, may that be resume based question or technical based question, understand they are general questions pertaining to the role. It is not limited to your resume upload. Okay, there might be chances that whatever your resume has, exactly the same topics have been asked in the technical and resume based questions, which is fine. There are chances it can be, because maybe you have aligned your resume just as what the job description has asked you to do, right? So there are chances that that's a possibility, but that doesn't mean that these questions are just for you. Okay, it's a very general question that have already been framed and they're just being questioned to you. So anyone who's appearing for an AI based interview, just keep these things in mind, that technical questions are mostly related to the profile that you're applying to, and resume based questions are general resume based questions. They will not specify that it is to your projects that you worked. Yeah, the AI might capture few words that you say, like you say that you worked on a machine learning project. So the AI might say that, okay, tell me about your machine learning project. So that doesn't mean that AI is actually asking you about the project from your resume. Okay, it is actually capturing words that you just spoke and just reiterating it. Okay, so it's a simple code. So these are the few technical and resume based questions, and concluding questions the AI can ask are like, are there any question that I can help you with? Like, do you have any question related to the position you're interviewing for, or you have any final views, or how was your experience? There can be these questions. Do not ask the AI about how your interview went. Do not do that. Okay, because those sessions are recorded and maybe a human might review them. So do not do it. Okay. And so you can definitely ask them some questions. You can ask them like, what's the next step in the process? It will definitely tell you that if you qualify, someone will reach back to you. You can talk about your experience about your thing. You can give feedback if you wanted some improvement in their AI system. You can ask them questions related to that particular position, or definitely if you have some other queries that you think that AI can answer, definitely. Else they have a default setting that if the AI is unaware of that, they'll just ask you to drop an email to the help desk. Okay. So these are the few things that you should know about an AI based interview. I don't think there's much more to this. Well, I hope this video was helpful, and those appearing for AI based interviews, all the best, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.